Hello my friends, it's Pamela and I am here this evening to do a tutorial especially for Kathy Mumford. Hi Kathy. She commented on my little book page envelopes and asked for a tutorial. So we're going to do one, and I know that a lot of you are familiar with these already, but then there are so many people who are new to this style of crafting that it's not known to them. So I don't mind doing a little quick tutorial for her and for anybody else that might need it. So Kathy, what I did is I just took a book and I took it apart and I cut down the pages and I rounded the edges on them, and that's totally personal preference. And then I just collated them. So I have 2 pages for the back of the and 1 piece for the front. And so you've got 2 pages here and 1 page here. And I put this one, the back one, upside down so when you fold it over, the writing is right side up. But that's totally up to you because I'm thinking this might be stuck down on a page or put in a pocket, or you can decorate the back of it. It's just, again, totally personal preference. So the next thing I did was I stitched all the way around the edge. And don't worry if your stitching isn't great, because sometimes the machine just goes cattywampus like it did right here, but hey, I'm not a perfectionist. So the next thing I do is cut a little, kind of a little slot in there so you see, so it's easier to get in and out. And then I decoupaged the front of it with a napkin, and we all know that napkins have several layers of paper and you have to get to the top layer. So you have to take these other layers off the back. And I just use a little piece of washi tape or Scotch tape, whatever I have, and get it going because I don't want to sit and pick at it. And then you just rip it off. And you can be careful, but I'm not. I'm just like, rip it and get it done. Okay. And then you have your napkin, and you can just pick out something that you want to decoupage on the, or on the front of the papers, sorry. And I kind of like this flower. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. And that looks like it's pretty good to me. And I'm not real picky. And I just watered down some matte Mod Podge. And I put a little bit on the surface. And then just more on top. I like this little fan brush because you can't put too much pressure on it, and then you're not going to rip your napkin. So that's going to have to dry. And it doesn't take long, and sometimes I do just a little bit of a second coat over it just because I want to make sure it's going to stay down. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of air down inside the pocket just to kind of make sure it's dry from the inside so it doesn't stick to the paper, the inside of the pocket. And that is it. Okay, now you can fold it down however much you want. I'm just going to fold it down a little bit because I want this pocket to be a little bit bigger. And I'm going to add a little bit of something right there. And again, this is not rocket science, so don't stress over it. And I can say that because my dad was a rocket scientist. Okay, there's our envelope. Now sometimes I leave them just bright white. Sometimes I will coffee dye the pages before I do all of this. Sometimes I will go as far as to stitch them and then I'll coffee dye them. And then other times, like now, I will just use my Ranger Vintage Photo Oxide and I will just distress the sides. I'll clean this little piece up with my nail file. I use an emery board and just gently rub it on there and those little pieces come off. I am going to go down the back side just because I don't know if I'm gonna actually glue this on a page or not, so I'm here and it only takes another second. And then I do like to cover up the stitching with a little of the Distress ink and just kind of dirty up the page a little bit. Okay, there we have that. And then I have a couple little pieces that I made. I glued multiple pages together so that it had a little bit of substance to it. And then I just went and cut them out with this little 1-inch cutter. And we'll take this and punch a hole in the center, or close enough to the center. Now if I wanted, like I did on some of these other envelopes, I did put some napkins on that paper before I cut the little discs out, and you can do that, but I also like when they're just plain like this. And I am all out of my little itty bitty brads, so I'm using these big ones. So I just cut them down a little bit because they're really long and I don't want them to be that long. We'll just put this in here. I don't know why it is you're always thumbs when you're on film. And I'm just going to glue this one down to cover the brad. I'm going to put one more on, just down here a bit. That looks like a good spot. And another brad. inside. And then I just have a piece of embroidery floss. And I'm just going to tie it so that it goes underneath. And just snip it off. Got a little too much. Got a little too much. Don't worry, I use all those little snips in other projects and eggs, so they don't go to waste. And there you go. That is it. It's done. Now if you want, you could put more napkin on the back. That's not a problem. You can do it now, or you could do it before. Just depends on your mood. You know, you can just add something. Let's just do it since we're right here, right? When I'm doing this, I like to pick up my napkin with the wet brush. Then I feel like I have a little more control over the placement, if that makes sense. And I like the wrinkles in them. I think it gives it a little bit of character. Some people like everything to be super smooth, but I think that takes away from the handmade look if you try and make everything perfect. Let's dry it real quick. There's your pretty little envelope. Aren't they adorable? And I have a bunch of napkins, so. And then I like to keep these. I like to make a bunch of them. But when I get them all done, then I just stack them up and put them in a little tray or a little bin or a box, whatever works. And then they're ready to go. You could just spend one day making a bunch of these and you're set, and you can make them different sizes. So I hope that helped Kathy and anybody else that was wondering how that's done. And if you have any other questions, or you have something that you aren't sure about or you want to know, ask me, because hey, we're all new at some point and I'm still learning. I learn every day from all the wonderful crafters out there, and that's part of the fun. So if you have something that you want to know about, just give me a heads up and I'll do it for you, okay? Thank you so much for all your support, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.